Let's have a look at what a failure Bidenomics has been. After all, the Republicans have been complaining non-stop forever about the high prices and how Joe Biden's done nothing about it. But let's actually have a look and see if the facts align with anything that has been said. Salary increases are outpacing inflation, while wages are also up. Families are just factually getting richer because the net worth has climbed. But what about jobs? Well, job growth in Biden's first 3 years outperformed any previous president, 14.8 million jobs. Well, what about unemployment? It's down. The cost of living, down. Inflation, down to 2.6%. A lot of this because of the Inflation Reduction Act, and which put forward $300 billion in deficit reduction. While keeping this in mind, he still managed to climb the GDP and decrease energy costs for home people. So yeah, I guess Joe Biden maybe did a terrible job there. Let's look at infrastructure. After all, there was that infrastructure bill, which Donald Trump said was completely impassable, which Joe Biden passed within 1 year, resulting in $180 billion research and development, $115 billion in roads and bridges, $85 billion in public transport, $80 billion Amtrak and freight rail, $42 billion ports and airports, $100 billion on broadband, and $111 billion on water infrastructure. That bill that Donald Trump said was impassable, that he passed within 1 year with a less majority than Donald Trump did. The fact is, that guy's incompetent. Not only this, but he managed to do the CHIPS Act, which put forward $53 billion in federal incentives for domestic manufacturing, research and development. And we're already seeing the results, as companies have already announced over $200 billion in investments in the American economy. And I thought Trump was meant to be the business guy. But let's not stop there. Let's look at healthcare. How much has Joe Biden done to actually improve the lives of American people? Well, millions are now signed up for healthcare. And actually, he's taken the number of uninsured Americans to an all-time low. We'll see if Donald Trump can actually keep that up. 9 million US homes are getting cleaner water to help their health. He's cracked down on lead paint and banned the use of asbestos. He's reached agreements for lower prices for 10 high-cost drugs. He's put forward a $2,000 cap on out-of-pocket drug costs and then capped the price of insulin at $35. Penalties for drug companies that increase prices above inflation. All of this, and I was told that Joe Biden was old and incompetent, but yet here he is taking on all of the big healthcare companies to bring American prices down and get more people enrolled in the Affordable Care Act, which is now 24 million, almost doubled since Joe Biden took office. Joe Biden has produced stats that Donald Trump dreams he could do. While Donald Trump denies climate change, we can see what Joe Biden's actually doing about it. Green spending is booming, $200 billion. Inflation Reduction Act again taking its part as one of the best policies ever made, but here it is with $369 billion in climate change programs for over the next 10 years. Americans can also access consumer tax credits for electrical vehicles, creating a great incentive. He announced Tariff tax credit for clean hydrogen production, methane action plan, which talks about methane emission fees for certain oil and gas. He's finalized new polluting standards that will help 1 billion tons of greenhouse gas emissions. He's put forward significant investment in wildfire risk reduction and ecosystem restoration, which clearly is paying off. $19 billion in climate-smart agriculture, $2,000 tax credit for new heat pumps, 30% tax credit for residential solar systems and batteries, and rejoined the Paris Climate Agreement. Wow, spending a lot of money, but is he getting any of it back? Yes, he is. He's created 271,000 new clean energy jobs and projected to have 1.3 million by 2030, somehow balancing creating a great economy and producing jobs with helping the environment. Well, I'm sure we've all heard about how crime is out of control because Joe Biden is just not tough enough. Well, let's actually have a look. Homicide, what is it? Oh, it's down. Murder and manslaughter, well, down. Rape, down. Robbery, down. Assault, down. Larceny, down. Burglary, down. Well, I'm sure this is convenient. It's not like he's got any plans dedicated to actually doing any of this, except that he has the Safer America plan, which put forward $37 billion in law enforcement and crime prevention, which resulted in 100,000 additional police officers and $173 million in improving school safety. America Rescue Plan, 15 billion in public safety and violence prevention, and then the Safer Communities Act helped students with trauma from gun crime and other mental health issues, and put forward 300 million to hire 14,000 mental health care professionals for schools and 750 million in crisis intervention. But yes, Joe Biden, the one soft on crime, while Donald Trump's the one doing it. Let's move on to education, which is the one that clearly Republicans need, and luckily Joe Biden's going to deliver yet again. He's reduced the threshold on access to school meals and reduced paperwork for parents and schools. This benefits 5 million children. He's prioritised educators getting vaccinated so we can get people back into education. He's provided student debt relief, which discharged 39 billion in debt, which affected over 800,000 people. And yes, I'm going to talk about it again, the 14,000 new mental health professionals for school is going to go a long way. While the Republicans and Donald Trump attack people's rights, Joe Biden expands them. LGBTQ+, the national strategy to end HIV epidemic, ending ban on transgender people in military, Respect Marriage Act, which codified the legal protections for married same-sex and interracial people. Not only this, but he takes a hard stance against other countries, which I wish other presidents would do. When the Ugandan president made it possible to sentence gay people to death, the US imposed visa restrictions on officials and then removed them from duty-free trades. New policy prohibiting discrimination on sexual orientation and gender identity in public schools, educational activities, and programs. There's still more to come. He did the establishment of 988 crisis lifelines, which provide LGBTQ-trained counselors, and expanded non-discrimination protections in the healthcare space. Let's look at what Joe Biden has done in terms of women's rights and equality while Donald Trump was touching them without their permission and then paying them hush money. 2.6 billion to promote gender equality abroad. 650 million on programs for gender initiatives, 250 million in preventing and responding to gender-based violence, 200 million for the Gender Equity and Equality Action Fund, 150 million for women, peace and security programs, and 50 million on developing political leadership. I'm going to miss having a president that actually respects women. And who can forget veterans? After all, the Republicans claim they're their group and how we're the only people that care about them. But I didn't see Trump doing much for them. Well, under Joe Biden, we've got base pay for service members up 14.5%. He's doubled the funding in sexual assault prevention and survivorship support, which resulted in a 19% drop in reported sexual assault. He signed an executive order advancing economic security for veterans, spouses, and caregivers. He put forward the new Veteran Scam and Fraud Evasion Task Force and the PACT Act, which expands vets' medical and disability benefits. While Donald Trump talks, Joe Biden acts. It's important to point out that a lot of what I've spoken about today is going to take a long time to get introduced. In fact, it's due to come into terms generally under Trump's presidency. When you see Trump parading around with veterans and women and LGBT community and looking at the big bridges being built under not his infrastructure bill and keeping the economy going, know that none of that was him. Yet again, it's another situation of Republicans taking credit for economy they didn't build. He's going to do tariffs, which are going to hurt the American people, and then cry about it on X with Elon Musk.